Personally, I identify as Irish, but also as Northern Irish, and certainly as European. And I think that's why, from my political perspective, Europe was always a fundamental part of the solution to here, that you can be Irish or British or both, and European Union, it allows people to have a regional identity and that kind of a blurred identity. And I think the common membership of the European Union, allowing Dublin and London to work together as equals and neighbours, was one of the things that helped to soften the relationship here. Of course, because of the Good Friday Agreement, people born here will always be entitled to both Irish and British citizenship, and that for some people will take the sting out of Brexit. But I think it in many ways will make people of an Irish identity and an Irish nationalist identity probably firmer in that identity, because the UK that was outward looking, that was social democratic, that was part of the European Union, was a more comfortable place to be. And if that changes quite dramatically, people will realign themselves a little bit more on a north-south basis. But equally, there are people who are unionist, feel British, but are attached to their European identity, many of whom might access an Irish passport for practical reasons, to get through the airport more quickly and so on. But I think people's identities aren't as fluid as they once were in Northern Ireland. And
from my perspective, I would sort of quote John Hewitt, or actually I'd paraphrase John Hewitt, make it slightly differently than that. You know, I see myself as being British, I see myself as being Northern Irish, I see myself as being Irish, I also see myself as being a European, and also see myself being a citizen of the wider world. And that's the thing about Northern Ireland, because for many people in Northern Ireland, that is the case. They see themselves as British, they see themselves as Irish, they see themselves as Northern Irish, they see themselves a bit of everything. And that was the beauty of the Good Friday Agreement. And that was a Good Friday Agreement. Remember that our party, the Ulster Unionist Party, then led by David Trimble, that was part and parcel of what we got to, because it was trying to park the question of identity so we'd be able to move on.
Every bone in my body, every breath that I take, I'm Irish through and through. I have an Irish diplomatic passport, and I have my own Irish passport. We live in the north of Ireland. It is still, we have got a thing called the principal consent built into the Good Friday Agreement in the event of there being a border poll and Irish unity, and we have signed up to working with trying to bring the people to that point where we get agreement on the island of Ireland, but that we can identify ourselves as British and Irish or both. But I say, but whether you're British or Irish or both, I don't want any second-class citizenship here. People are entitled to have both. So the 1.8 million people here are entitled to EU protection, whether they hold an Irish passport or not, because they have been afforded the right to have that.
Do you see yourself as an Irish citizen who also happens to be a European EU citizen, or do you see yourself as Irish and European? So.
I see myself as Irish, and I see myself as an Irish citizen who has got afforded rights by being a member of the EU.
Undeniably British.
Yeah. Do you see yourself as an Ulsterman British, Irish and British, or?
No, I probably find myself as British, but if you asked, depending on which sporting event was taking place at the time, I might be more Northern Ireland than the rest of the UK or British. But if anybody asks me from abroad, ever asks me, where do you come from? I would say I come from the United Kingdom. I don't even specify from Northern Ireland. I travel on a British passport. I regard myself as a British citizen, and I'm very, very proud of my British history.
Did you feel any sense of European, any part of your identity when you're...
No, I don't. I enjoy travelling in Europe. And, you know, I would hope that when we leave the EU, I will continue to take my holidays in different parts of Europe, ride my motorbike across Europe, buy European goods where they are price competitive, etc. But I don't feel that that means that I have to remain part of the European Union.
Get more from the Open University. Check out the links on screen now.